So we're going to just jump straight back into it because it took quite a long time last time, so I don't want to mess around with this little intros. So we made our sort of shape and we tried to sort of put this in. It wasn't really giving me the desired effect that I wanted. So I'll remove that. So we'll try and do it a different way. So in fact, actually, yeah, no, let's carry on with this. So what I'm going to do, you can either try to think of the best way. So I am going to, just so it's just, I have a little bit more control over how I do this. So I'm just going to go to my modeling editor, multi-cut. No, I'm not. I'm going to go to my, I am actually going to bevel this, sorry. I'm going to extrude this in. And I did try and keep this as one from the other, and I was just messing around with it a little bit too much, and I didn't really like the result that I was getting from it. So instead, what I'd probably prefer is to actually do something like this. So I am going to duplicate that. I'm just going to hide it. I probably could extract the faces, but sometimes it's just easier to. So there's an edge loop here. I can just delete that, and now I've got rid of that. So I'll just Control E. So do that again. Sorry. Control E for extrude. I'm just going to pull this in a little bit. We don't have to do it a lot because it's going to be covered up. Sorry, excuse me. Now I'm just going to. It just makes it easier for me to now work on this sort of corner edge that I want to play around with. So instead of, in fact, let's get that edge and. Cool. So I just want this nice and tight around the top, but well, sort of loose around the top, but tight there. So I won't bevel that again because it starts to get a little bit too close. I can just add another multi-cut in there, bring that in tight. Now it's a tiny bit tighter. I'm sort of getting the shape that I kind of want. So now I'm just going to hide that. Delete that. Excuse me. Oh. Cool. And now I have that sort of separate, so I can do things a little bit more differently. And for me, it seems a little bit easier. So if I smooth this out, I can actually probably. I should be able to transform component on this and it pushes it out equally. So like instead of pulling it up, see how it's exponentially growing. So it allows me that I can get a bit more control over this bit. And now if I bevel this now. You're probably like, it looks no difference, but to me it does kind of look a little bit, it looks a little bit nicer. And I could probably bring that in a bit tighter as well. But if it's too tight, the gap might not read. But now also what I can do is bring this out a little bit so it's not completely flush. I think it would look a little bit nicer if it wasn't flush. We need to make sure that we're not making any light gaps here. But we should be fine. We'll just, you're not going to see it, but just for safety, we can just bevel that and keep it tight. Cool. So yeah, we're pretty much done with that. So now we can add in this little sphere thing. Sorry, I've got quite a bad throat at the moment. Still trying to get through all this stuff. Cool, so you can sort of see now it's all relatively working fairly well. And if you didn't feel the scale was kind of right, we can scale this up at the end. But we're sticking to the reference at the moment. So if we look at this, we can sort of see that. This is clearly just we can just make this as a sphere. You can see it's starting to, I know we've taken on some things I've probably over explained on some things and just probably yabbered on. I have been trying to make these tutorials shorter, but the more I try to make them shorter, they seem to get longer. I just don't want to do, I don't know, I just prefer talking over it and just giving you the full, it's not for everyone. For someone to go on this much, but yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying it. And yeah, I've got quite an annoying throat right now, so we're just going to make that round. And don't forget, this is kind of still curved with it. This is not flat. See how this is more, there's more distance here, so we do need to make sure we keep an eye on that as well. So I'm just gonna go for 12. I'm going to delete all that behind that. And I'm going to delete this, because I don't really want those triangles. So I can hold shift and right click and fill hole. So that's still not good. We don't want to leave it like that. But because we've made sure that we've got an equal number, we can use our modeling toolkit, multi-cut. And we can just finish off the edge loops. So now we have all quads. So probably want to delete the history on that and go to, I can't see it, sculpting. Maybe, hopefully if we smooth this, it should bring back the roundness. But we will be scaling this anyway, so we just want to make sure that if we are, oh no, that's bad. Let's leave that. Let's see what it looks like when we smooth it. Let's try relax. Relax is probably what we wanted. Just want to keep an eye on. So as I'm like rotating around, I'm trying to keep this sort of, even though we're going to scale it and make it a lot flatter, we want to kind of still want to maintain some of its roundness. Otherwise, there's no point using a sphere. So I'm just going to scale that now. It's quite a shallow disc. It's not super thick. Cool. So I'm just going to Control E and extrude that out. And here we have like our problem that we have, because we need to curve it as well. But if we just tighten up these edges first with a bevel. Cool. It's probably not that tight. Possibly a little bit tighter. No. We can turn off our selection highlighting so we can see it a little bit clearer as we sort of do it. I think that should be around right. So I'm just going to go to my poly modeling and delete the history. So now what we want to do is use the form, and we can use a could use a bend. I don't think the bend will work how we would want it to, but we can give it a go. Just going to rotate this 90 degrees. Oh, it seems to be actually working all right, but it's kind of obviously bending a little bit more than we want, so we're going to have to pull this out. Let's put our wireframe on shaded back on so we can see if it's relatively equal all the way around, and it is. So let's just delete the history. Then it comes out a fair bit, something like that. Maybe too much. I think the bend has made it a little bit funny. I'm not. Yeah, see how it's kind of broken. Just keep an eye on when you're doing bends. It's kind of broken it a little bit. It's not done what we want. It's kind of lost its form. So what I was originally going to do, I was going to use a lattice. So if I go to deform and use a lattice, I'll go to my FFD and my lattice shape, sorry. We don't need that many, so maybe 4. Because we're only pushing these edges out, so let's even do 5, just so we've got 1 in the middle and we can just edge it in a bit. So I want to do these both at the same time. And you can see how now that's not really destroying the shape apart from these bits here. So let's try and get this equal amount in. And just have a bit more control. If you're careful with the lattice, you will actually have a little bit more control. And you'll just get probably a slightly better result. Cool. I think that's pretty good. It's sort of working. So just going to delete the history and probably just tuck that in slightly. Cool. And we've done that bit. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So I don't know what that bit's called. So we'll just freeze it and we'll put just leave it where it is for now, I guess. Cool. So now we need to we can finish off the bottom, I guess. Let's go to our front. Cool, so I'm just going to actually get to perspective, sorry. I do jump around, like, because I'm recording it on more than once. Usually you'd have multiple things and you wouldn't be jumping around screens so much. But I want to sort of have a look at this ref, and you can sort of see we've got quite a round tapered edge here. And if we look here, it goes on under, and this sort of like rubbery waste bit comes out. So we're going to have to try and sort of guesstimate how. Well, we don't have to guesstimate. We can go bring back our ref wherever it is, and what's come out of its group. Cool. So we've got our reference. Is it moved? Is that moved? Something's moved. Oh, that's probably from where we did the bend, and it's not been exactly aligned. It is strange though why that is like that, but anyway, we can fix that easily. So let's just make sure this is all under here. Must have got a -5 rotation from somewhere. We'll just freeze that. So cool. Cool. So like I said, I forget that we've still got our ref, so we'll stick with our ref, because otherwise what was the point of doing it? So we've got the amount that's gone in. And now what we can do is just sort of give this rounded edge. Could probably do that for bevel. Let's hide our reference and see what that. I think that looks pretty good. Check it's not. See, what we have here is a you can't really see it, but it's kind of we were a bit too close to that other edge. So we'll probably need to add a supporting edge in there. So it might actually be better to, because we're bending on this, we probably want to edge. So we're not coming off of this. So when you're doing like a curve, you kind of want to make sure that whenever you're bending, you're not bending from it's like a node or like a vertex that has like more than like 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Otherwise, it doesn't really work so well. So you want to make sure that you're always coming from an equal sort of poly shape, if that makes sense. So I've added the edge loop, so we're not coming off of this bit here. So every curve is coming off an equal amount on each side. I'm actually just going to pull this down as well. I'm going to sort of cheat this bevel a little bit. Cool. And you can see that looks much nicer going around. Then all I need to do is just go Control E up. And yeah, we probably don't need to do anything else in here. We can just bevel this again, I think. fact, why not? Let's just for the sake of safety, we can put another in there, and just if any light leaks or anything comes through or anything sort of shows through. But that should be all good. Cool, so we had done the bottom bit. And now let's just finish off the top neck part. So if we bring back our reference, I don't know why that's come out of the... Cool. So let's go to our orthographic front. Now imagine this is a little bit wider because we had it on smooth. But it's more about having the correct proportion. So we will actually we'll leave it because I don't want to be changing it from my proportion, even though it's kind of off at the moment. It should be fine. Cool. So let's. I know I keep saying let's. Whenever I say let's, it's kind of me just thinking out loud. Cool. Let's bevel this. Just so I can smooth it. You can see how, like, when I say supporting edges, you can see how that's bowing here. You can see how that's a perfectly straight edge there. So I'm actually going to mesh smooth this. Just so I get this iteration of smoothness, so it matches my... It's obviously quite high poly, but just we're not doing this for games. So you still need to sort of not go nuts with poly count, but within reason you can. Because I'm actually matching this, I will actually. I know I said I wouldn't, but. So I'll do a freeze that first. Just so I know I've scaled it down by 0.006. And I'm just going to match my reference, basically. I'm just going to extrude this up. And snap it and scale. And you could probably do this with like lofts and curves and stuff like that, but I just prefer doing, like I say, there's a lot of ways to skin a rabbit, but this is my way. And you don't have to follow it. It's just it's more of a, this sort of stuff is the kind of, it's just me talking through how, say if I wanted something, a project for my show reel. This is just so how you can make your show reels as well. If you've not got anything, obviously it can be quite difficult to come up with ideas, and you can quite easily get lost in projects, and you end up just having lots of unfinished projects that get nowhere. So this kind of just gives you a little, I guess, if you wanted it, a little push to finish stuff, and it will be a great show reel piece. Obviously, you can't say you did the one from MPC, but you can say, hey, this is my version of it. And there's nothing wrong with that, saying you've given it a go. Cool. And I think we've actually done more than we needed. Yeah, we've done a lot more than we needed. Cool. But anyway, doesn't matter. Let's hide that plane. Don't know why that's there. So now you can see we've got this kind of nice body. And let's just double check if we... So we've added a ridge here. I don't know where our... Must have lost our Fong shader somewhere. See how I've now created this ridge? We ideally want to get rid of that. Let's see what happens if we Control D and delete that. So we've got this node here which we really don't want to have that on a curve. But it doesn't seem to be causing us any problems, so it should be okay. And it looks pretty clean and tidy. Cool. So we're getting there. I think this thing's got a... kink in it. I don't know if I'm breaking that or making that worse. That should be right. Cool, so now we've got this sort of neck bit, which has this sort of lip seam. We can model that in if we want. Do we want to keep it all one? Yeah, why not? Let's keep it all one piece because we can, and we may as well. And it means that we don't have to. Well, it means we don't have to carry on with this such high poly mesh. We can make it a little bit less, and easier to work with. So we can. Oh, this feels like the hardest decision of the century. Obviously, it's quite high res, and we don't need high res for this, but we can still keep it uniform. So it's that sphere. Oh, decisions. Obviously, be nice to keep it all as one bit. Let's yeah, let's do it. Let's all keep it as one bit. Save us having lots of, unless I don't think that bit moves around. Oh, it might do actually, because these move around, so that might. I don't know if this bit rotates in some sort of odd way. I'm sorry, I'm thinking really. We'll just leave it as a separate piece just in case. I don't think it would. Let's just test out its range of movement just from that side. Well, I think it'll be alright. As one. Still undecided whether to do it all as one, but it makes it a lot easier to do them all in separate pieces, for sure. Alright, I'm going to stop faffing around and just get on with this. Sorry. Alright, let's bring out the ref. So this kind of loop up and loop in. Do you know what? I'm going to do it as a separate piece, just in case. Just in case it's it causes problems. And then I'm just worried that if I need to move this or anything, but it should be fine. I'm so undecided. All right, let's just make it as a separate piece. This is what happens when you don't plan stuff. You end up faffing around. But luckily, it's not a complex shape, it's just a sphere. So it does have a does slightly straighten out here. It's not like that. Probably could have achieved this by squashing, but I'd already why is that high on one side and not on the other? Let's turn on our grid to see if something's... Something strange has happened with our position of body. It's become slightly off. Why is that not letting me snap it? Somewhere along the lines there's something's gone wrong, or I might just be Anyway, it should be fine. Looking into it way too much. Cool. So now we just need to add this sort of rim in. And what we'll do is we can just add a polytorus to keep this quick. In fact, no. Let's do this bit and get it in done properly. So I'm just gonna go around. Imagine that is probably too tight for that. And we can slightly adjust that if need be. I'll put another so slight offset on it. It might not be exact, but I think it should be pretty good, close. We'll just bevel that. Just do the same here. We don't need so many because we don't see it. What we'll do is just add an edge there. Don't hold shift. Transform component. And we'll just give it a little bit more of a natural roll. Then this can just be tucked down here because we don't see it. I don't know why that's not fitting. Let's center that. Something's gone a bit funky somewhere, but I think I may have snapped, because this has got more subdivisions, I may have snapped it to the wrong one and reset the pivot. So it's always good to keep an eye on these sort of things. But yeah. So, sorry, this is taking really long again. So let's hide the head. So let's add a multi-cut in here. Something's moved. Can't tell what has happened, but something has happened. Cool. And we'll just bevel this. Probably needs to be a bit bigger, actually. Do tend to go backwards and forwards quite a lot, sorry. Transform component. Cool. That's a little bit better, even though we've moved it. But let's not worry about that. We can still keep them to the same proportions. And I have no idea what this neck is. It looks like it's got similar sort of stuff going on here. So what we can do is hide that grid, get rid of that. Let's create a cylinder and actually see what's been offset. Is it our model or is it the... Everything's come slightly off, isn't it? I don't know how that's happened. It happens though. So don't worry if it has. All that matters is that you notice it's happened so you can fix it. It's probably because I just moved something without realizing it. So we're just going to make this neck real quick. Doesn't have to be anything complicated. So what we can do is, where's our ref? Oh, it's one of these. Should have named it. There we go. Doesn't have to be that long. But it does have some subdivisions in it. So we actually want to add something like this. Obviously, I don't really know what's in there, but I imagine it's like similar. We just select all these edges and just go bevel. So it's just probably something like that in there. It's quite easy to sort of rig. So yeah, I think we're pretty much done with, no we're not, with the first part of our torso. We still need to do the arms and stuff, but let's just hide that. So yeah, we're getting there. I know like I'm talking through a lot and it's probably taking a little bit longer than we want, but it'll be worth it in the end. Let's just put smooth on everything so we can see it. We don't need these locators and distance anymore. So we can kind of see where we're getting at now. So it's getting pretty close. Well, we've still got a little bit longer to go, but we're, in the grand scheme of things, it's only a couple of hours. Usually you'd be given, like, work-wise, you wouldn't be given like a day or two. You'd be given a long time to do this. And it's all about finessing in the small details and getting everything right more than rushing through it. Because you can tell the difference between something that's been rushed through and yeah, you can just tell really when someone spends time on something, you can really tell the difference. So yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed that. We're getting close to finishing modeling, but you might have already finished it. I'm pretty meticulous and I just go through and just over check things probably. But yeah, if you've enjoyed that tutorial, hit that like button and subscribe for more like this.